2 of this 10-day Improve Your Salsa Challenge. Today's lesson is all about Cuban motion. I often teach people who have been dancing for many, many years, and they come to me and kind of assume that they already know how to do what I'm going to teach in this lesson, and then they're always kind of surprised by the fact that they weren't actually doing their hip and leg action correctly, and when they do, they see a huge difference in the quality of not only their dancing, but their lead and follow. So it's something that's extremely important in all aspects of your salsa, so I'm really excited to share it with you. Let's get right into it. I also have a 3-part video series addressing all the little details and nuances of Cuban motion, which I'll put a link to right now if that's something that you want to look at in further detail. But today's video is going to be a quick crash course in how to correctly achieve Cuban motion in your salsa dancing. Okay, so the first and most important thing that you need to know about achieving proper Cuban motion is that it's created from the knees. I am not going to initiate my hip movement from the hip. It's all because my knees are bending and straightening. So we're going to start with our feet apart, just bending and straightening the knees. Okay, and you can see that when I do this, my pelvis naturally is going to tilt down toward the knee that's bending. So I go bend, bend, and when one is bending, the other one is straight. This is very important. A lot of times this is difficult at first. We kind of want to stay in 2 bent knee land, but it's very important that we bend and straighten, and we're alternating the knees. The other important thing that doesn't always happen, even when people get this part, is to put the weight over the knee that's bending. So I'm putting my weight over this foot, so I could actually lift my straight leg off the ground because most of my weight is over the bent knee. And then I switch my weight onto the other leg. So I go and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. And so what I'm thinking about as I do this is sending the shoulder over the bent knee and leaving the hip with the straight leg. Because that's what's going to help me create this tilt, which is what creates my Cuban motion. So I'm sending my rib cage and my shoulder over the bent knee, and I leave the hip behind with the straight leg, and then I switch. 1, 2. I really feel my weight dropping onto that bent leg and leaving the hip behind with the straight leg, creating a nice tilt in the pelvis. It goes down toward the bent knee. Okay, so now this is a little bit more difficult. We're going to bring the feet together and do the same thing. So I go bend and bend, making sure that I'm still putting my weight over the knee that's bending and not over the straight leg. I let the hip stay with the straight knee and put the weight over the bent knee. Tilt, 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 okay? So the next exercise that we're going to do is walking forward and backward. This one is probably the most important exercise that we'll do because most of the movements that we do when we're dancing salsa are indeed forward and backward. So we need to get used to going in both directions very seamlessly. So we're going to start with the forward walk because in my experience that's been the easier of the two. I'm just going to go on an angle so you can see what I'm doing from the side. So I always start in place, stepping onto a bent knee, leaving the other knee straight, leaving the hip behind, step, and now I'm just going to inch forward using that same technique. So I don't want to change anything about what I'm doing with my body as I start to walk forward, other than the fact that I'm moving forward. Then I'm going to march, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to start to walk back, 2, 3, just inching back. Don't think about taking a big step step, because that will often reverse your Cuban motion and put you in the wrong place. Okay? So common mistakes that I find that you want to check for while you're doing these exercises is we'll start off very well in place, and then as soon as we start to walk, either forward or backward, we start to do something like this, okay? So again, I want to remind you that my weight's always going over the bent knee, and then it switches, bent knee, and over the bent knee, all the time. Especially when we're going back, it's very common to start to do something like this, where I'm going onto a straight knee and kind of leading with my hip. When I walk back, something that often helps my students is to think about leaving the knee where it is, just send the foot. And we're putting the whole foot on the ground, as you can see. I'm not taking the knee with me, I'm leaving it here. My knees are kind of touching. And I just take the foot, and then I lead with the foot, putting the whole foot on the ground. Another common mistake I see is when people take their foot back, they only put the ball of the foot on the ground, and then my weight is still over my straight leg, which is something that we don't want to happen. So you want to put the whole foot on the ground, a nice small step, whole foot, so that you get that tilt in the hips, yeah? If I just do the ball of the foot, I'm not getting a tilt at all in my hips, and again, my weight is in the wrong place. So now I'm going to do it facing you so you can see the tilt in the pelvis. So we go in place, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we walk forward. Small step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feet together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and walking back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now we're going to try this just with the single timing, a step per every 2 beats with music, and then we'll look at applying it to the salsa rhythm. We start in place, we go. Step, 2, 3, forward, we go. 1, 2, 3, forward. Together we go. 1, 2, 3, forward. We go back. 1, 2, 3, and double time we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Together. 1, 2. Onto a bent knee. 5, 6, 7, and back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what we just did is a wonderful exercise for really getting used to incorporating Cuban motion into your movements. So if that felt difficult for you, I say keep going with that until it starts to feel natural. If that was okay for you, now we're going to apply that movement onto the salsa rhythm. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, moving forward. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, feet together, moving back, okay? So doing the same exact exercise, but now applying it to the salsa rhythm. One very important thing that I want to emphasize here is that on the 3 and the 7, we really want to hold longer than will probably feel natural for you. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, hold. 5, 6, 7, hold. And now we want to make sure that even though we're holding, we're still getting our weight right over that foot on the 3 and 7. Hold. 6, get the weight over there, 7, okay? So that's something that I want you to be focusing on as we do this exercise, really finding a nice emphasized hold, because that's what we need to do when we are dancing salsa. We go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, hold, and forward, 1, 2, 3, hold, get the weight over that foot, together, and we go back, tilt that pelvis, hold, and back. So the last exercise that we're going to do in today's video are some rock steps in different directions, because salsa is mostly comprised of rock steps, whether it be to the side, back, or forward. We need to get used to applying our Cuban motion onto a rocking action. So we're going to start by just putting one foot behind and one foot in front, and we're going to do the same thing that we were just doing, which is bending one knee, straightening the other. My weight, meaning my rib cage and shoulder, going over the bent knee, and my hip is staying behind with the straight knee. Then I switch, and I tilt the pelvis as a result of what's happening in the knees. Rock, and even though my feet aren't moving, I do want to make sure that I'm still transferring my weight each time I bend a knee. Okay, now with the other foot, and we go bend, 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 let the pelvis tilt, leave the hip with the straight knee always. Okay, and now let's do the same thing out to the side like what we did in the beginning. It might feel a little bit more comfortable now. So we go rock, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now the tricky part is when we're dancing our salsa rock steps, it's a rock and then a walk and then a rock and a walk. This is the thing that most often throws people off their game when they're trying to use their Cuban motion, is transitioning between these two concepts. So we just did walking in the last exercise, and then we just did some rocking. So we know we're able to do both. The important thing is to remember that all the steps we take are the same. They're all going to be onto a bent knee while we leave the hip behind with the straight knee. So as long as we keep that in mind on every step, we should be able to do this. It's not easy at first, but we can do it. So what I like to start with is rocking just in one direction to start, and then we can mix it up. So we're gonna start with a rock out to the side. So I'm gonna go rock, step, and together. Rock, step, together. Really important that when I bring my feet together, I'm not just coming back into neutral. Like I just said, all the steps are the same, so I have to have a bent knee, my hips with the straight knee, just like any other step. Rock and together, rock and together, making sure those hips are tilting, that I'm really bending and straightening my knees. Then we're going to do rocks going forward. Forward, together, forward, together, forward, together, forward, together. Then we're going to rock back. Remember, when you walk back, not to straighten that knee and lead with the hip. We're going to just send the foot, leave the knee. Rock and together, rock and together on all the together steps, making sure that we're still using that same rule of thumb. Rock, together, and rock, and together. So these are exercises that I use for every single student of mine that has ever studied salsa or Latin dancing with me. They've all done these exercises and we've all had a great result. They've noticed a huge difference in their dancing. The important thing is to understand it and then to practice it so that you're consistently having your body do the correct action, and then inevitably it will find its way into your dancing. So now we're going to try this sequence with music. So we'll do 4 rocks out to the side, 4 rocks forward, 4 rocks back, and we will repeat. Toward the end of this 10-day challenge, I'm going to put together a full practice routine for you, including these concepts and others. So don't worry if you feel like this is very simple. These are just exercises to get the Cuban motion into your body, and eventually I will be showing you how to incorporate it more into your salsa dancing. Okay, so now let's practice this sequence with music. 5, 6, we go to the side. 1, 2, 3. Pull. 1, 2, hold. Switch the knees, we go forward. Bending the knee on every single step. We go back. Small step. Keep the knees close together. And side. And forward. And back. Great job! You got through day 2 of this 10-day Improve Your Salsa Challenge. Keep practicing, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks so much for joining me for today's lesson. Leave a comment below and let me know how you did. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications for my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram at DanceDoctorOnline. Until next time, keep dancing.